What up, nation? Welcome to another edition of the WiseTake NBA Wise stream. CK013 here. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013 if you are new to the channel. If you're new to the WiseTake Nation, decided to do another one free because we're just two nice guys and it's Thanksgiving. You never know what we're going to do. Joined by the GOAT, the true OG of the WiseTake Nation, Paulie D. You can find him on Twitter at Paulie with 8 Ds. Paulie, what's happening?
What's happening, baby?
Making it work, man. Making it work.
Making adjustments,
It's all about adjustments. NBA DFS is all about adjustments. As you
True that.
Speaking of news, there's really not a ton of news today at all.
Yep, is commonly used term around the industry, but don't lose your bankroll today. Just take it easy, have a little fun, fire out as many cheap lineups as you can, and maybe you get lucky, but these are not the days to try to do the dirty to yourself.
Yes, you don't want to do the dirty to yourself. It's just not something that, if you do that, I don't think anybody wants to hear that you've done the dirty to yourself. Also, just like, those are life tips. We give you more than just the DFS. We give you more than just all that. Those are life lessons. You should all strive to be more like us.
That's true. True that.
In all seriousness, Paulie, we got a 2-game slate, and it's not a terrible one. I think I kind of wish the games were flipped around timing wise, because I know that the first games typically have more ownership, and it's annoying because it also happens to be the game that has a closer spread. Not that it wouldn't be this popular if it was the second game, but maybe a little bit the roles would be reversed, but seems pretty evident the first game is the optimal game. That's the game people are going to want. Everybody expects it to stay close with a close spread. And the second game is what most people in Vegas think is a mismatch in Washington playing Denver. It's a 2-gamer, like Paulie said. We're going to go light, do what we do. Real quick, before we get into the slate breakdown, I'm going to ask all of you who haven't already, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Hit the notifications bell so you're notified whenever we do put out content. We do put out cores, all kinds of free stuff on here covering multiple sports. So make sure you subscribe. And please hit the like button. We didn't get to 75 likes yesterday. We're doing this out of the kindness of our hearts because, like I said, it's Thanksgiving. We're trying to thanks and we're trying to give. But we could appreciate it if you could help us hit that goal of 75 likes. That'd be awesome. 2 games later, not. Let's do it. Drop it like it's hot.
Yeah, 180 if you liked it. Meaning like 150 who didn't hit the like button, motherfuckers.
Exactly. We on to you. We know what's up. With that said, we are going to go ahead and start off with this first game here. I'm just going to go check a quick feed and make sure that I'm not doing the dirty to the nation who's waiting. No, we're good. We're rolling. We're rolling in that thing, boy. All right. First game. Clippers visiting Dallas. Line opened up. Clippers minus 2.5 on the road. It's down to minus 1.5. Total opened up 227.5, and it's dropped to 227. Both these games are very similar totals. 227 and 227.5 are the two totals right now. Paulie, you're up first. Talk to me about the. We'll break it into sides. Talk to me about the Clippers side first.
Okay, will do. Let me isolate that then. Nope, not Washington. Nope. Clippers side. Whenever George and Kawhi are going to play together, that's, not optimal for DFS. We got kind of too many mouths to feed over in Clipperville now, and you're going to see like one guy smash more often than not. The other night it was Montrezl. Most of the nights it was Paul George since they've all been together. You got a random Zubac who smashes again in good matchups when he gets minutes and, because his price is so low. The Clippers are the side I'm like least interested in outside of like the high floors, right? Like I think Kawhi would be the lowest owned of most of the studs on the slate outside of maybe like Brad Beal. So like I think he's interesting. I think George will be more popular. So, like, I'm going to have exposure to all these guys, but the Clippers, to me, are probably going to be some of my lower exposures, with the exception of, like, a Lou Williams and a Kawhi. I think I'll be a little higher on them. I like scoring guards or wings off of against Dallas. Dallas actually defends bigs fairly well. Not that the Clippers have any good bigs, and I don't think I really have that much interest in Pat Bev, but you could take a stab. He is going to be pumped up to guard Luka. Lou Williams and Kawhi. Sorry about that. Lou Williams and Kawhi, my most favorite.
Yeah, I hear you, bro. I think on the Clipper side, the Paul George and Kawhi, again, both being very popular as studs. I'm going to get my fair share of exposure. I typically try to match the field. If I don't like it, I'll go a little underweight, but I'm not usually too far off the field, and they're going to be very popular. My favorite plays from the Clippers, though, are Lou Williams, like you said. Number one, I think he's underpriced on both sites. And number two, scoring wings have just done the dirty. I mean, Paul George can certainly do it, but Lou Will, we know, is a guard that's going to shoot a lot, and he could really do the dirt to a team like Dallas, who we've seen these shooters just go off against. So I really like Lou Williams, and he doesn't project to be that highly owned, which is awesome. And then I like Montrezl Harrell. I don't think Dallas is very good. Capella just had a monster game against Dallas. I'm not necessarily comparing. Dallas has size between Kleber, Porzingis, and Powell, but none of them are super aggressive down low. At least they haven't been. So I think a hyper-aggressive player like Harrell, the only risk I'm running with Lou Williams and Harrell, of course, is neither of them typically start. So I am running that risk that this game gets out of hand, and that is one concern I have, is their records are similar. Everything looks good. Dallas is home. Clippers play tomorrow. I get it, but if you look at Dallas, like, you're a little concerned when you look at their schedule. Like, who have they beaten? Right? They beat up on Cleveland and Memphis and some of these teams, and I'm a little bit concerned like that this game does have potential for the Clippers to kind of run away with it, but if it stays close, like the Vegas spread indicates, and like most of the DFS industry is counting on, Lou Williams and Harrell, I think, are two of the lower owned players from the Clippers that we can grab that have that, big time ceiling. I'm cool with PG. I'm cool with Kawhi. I prefer PG a little bit, but I'll have a fair amount of exposure to each because it's a 2-game slate. I mean, if 50% isn't even that much. It's a 2-game slate. Pat Bev, I'm looking at around 20 to 30. I think there's potential that, he's always got potential. And then, really, I think like some of the more interesting players for me are on like the Clippers, like JaMychal Green. I think is kind of interesting. Harkless, I'm not as into. I just don't think he does enough offensively, defensively, whatever the case may be. But I do think that JaMychal Green is one of the value plays that I could take a look at. Maybe a sprinkle of Zubac. Paulie, nice of you to join us in front of the live audience watching. What you got?
Millions and millions at home.
What do you got on the other side of this game?
Dallas side is interesting to me. Not Luka and Porzingis, although Porzingis is cheap. If the game stays close, he's going to be a solid player. But I like the value here. I personally think the Clippers win convincingly. And usually we see Luka and Kristaps dominate the usage. But against a good defending team, they're going to need performances from the other players, right? Like, you're going to put a Kawhi on a Luka or Paul George or like a Harrell on Kristaps. Like, other guys are going to have to perform. So, like, Tim Hardaway Jr., Delon Wright, maybe even Dwight Powell, since the Clippers aren't very big. And these are going to be low-owned guys, like, on this slate that I may go like a tad higher than the field and hope to get lucky on a 2-game slate, right? Seth Curry at 3-3, Jalen Brunson at 3-3. Those are ideas, right? And if it blows out, you may get blowout run from these guys where they get massive usage. So the Dallas side is where I'm going to differentiate. Sure, I'll have like 30, 40% Luka, but that shit don't matter. He's going to be 75% owned on this slate. But it's the other pieces that are extremely cheap. And if this game stays close, I don't think it's just going to be Luka scoring 50 points. I think you're going to have some nice performances from like your THJs, your Dorian Finney-Smiths, your Delon Wrights, and your Dwight Powell. So those are the guys that I'm looking to get some exposure to.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. I mean, Luka is obviously a play that's going to be like 70, 80% owned, especially on DraftKings where positioning isn't a problem. And I can understand. I think you make a good point in that if Dallas is going to hang around, they are going to need some of these guys to contribute. So I can get behind that. Powell and Kleber really haven't done anything with these Porzingis and Luka, but if there's one spot that you can usually rely on against the Clippers, it is big. So Luka and Porzingis, obviously I'll have more Luka, but I'm going to also have Porzingis. But I do think it makes sense to grab some exposure to some of these smaller ones. I don't usually go as heavy on those type of players. There is one player in a different game that I'm a little higher on than I think most. But I think it makes sense, and I'm going to have sprinkles of them as well. For the simple purpose of if the game does blow out, which is like a worst case scenario for us in this game as a whole, those guys are the most likely to still see some time. Now, one thing I will say is the Clippers are the ones who play tomorrow. They are playing Memphis. Dallas isn't playing tomorrow, so that I think Dallas is more likely to keep fighting. If Dallas goes too far ahead, don't be surprised to see the Clippers throwing the towel early. So I think it works both ways with some of those value guys like the Jermichael Greens and some of these other dudes we talked about. But with that said, I think I do think your approach is that's one way to get contrarian for sure. Is to Vegas is telling us first game is going to stay close, second game is going to blow out. To set your exposures accordingly for the opposite to happen, or at least a little more balanced, is definitely a contrarian way to approach the slate. And I understand wanting to get different on a 2-game slate, so I'm with it. So yeah, I'll have a lot of Porzingis. I'll have a lot of Luka Donka. But Powell and I'll have about like 20% Powell, 20%. Normally I'd play more, man. I tell you what, Powell once went ham against these dudes last year. It was like nothing mattered, but. With Porzingis there, it just seems like the bigs, Porzingis and Luka, just hog so much usage, and rarely is one of them are they both off the court together. It's just, but if this game gets ugly, we could see it. I'm with it. Let's go over to the next game, Paulie. We've got the Washington Wizards visiting the Denver Nuggets. The spread in this game opened up at 9.5 and has gone up at 10.5. The total opened up at 227 and it's up to 227.5. Paulie, talk to me about the Washington Wizards side.
Yeah, I like the Wizards side. They just don't have many bodies that they're really playing. It's like they go 7, maybe 8 deep. And you got Isaiah Thomas with some narrative, very cheap. If I'm playing the slate opposite, I'm playing this game to be close. How does this game stay close? Washington shoots the shit out of the ball, so IT2 balls out. Bertans just continues to do what he's been doing. Brad Beal probably going to be one of the lower-owned studs on the slate that I like quite a bit. Like, he's going to have to ball out. The only way they ever stay in a game is him balling out. So I like those guys. I like some Mo Wags. And then I like some of the cheap guards off the bench, like Ish Smith and Jordan McRae. It's weird, but the Washington's probably my favorite side on the slate. And, I like Thomas Bryant. He's underpriced, and bigs do well against Jokic. Rui Hatch's price is getting really low, and like the guy can score the ball. He just hasn't done a ton else. And like Mo Wagner's like knocking on his door, like to take his starting job. But I'll plan to have exposure to all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Wizards in different varieties. But I think I'm gonna get a little bit higher on Thomas with the narrative and the fact that he's 4'6". And then I like the idea of, getting higher on Brad Beal of all the studs on the slate.
Yeah, again, a contrarian approach. Brad Beal projected to be the lowest owned stud for sure of all the guys that are, expensive. I worry, like the contrarian mind of me is like, oh man, but it would be such a better path, an easier path to success. Or if this game were to stay close. It's just the probability thing that gets me, man. Washington, we know, is not a great team. They're going to play Denver, who is a good team. Washington plays no defense. Denver plays very good defense. And they're in the altitude in Denver. Yeah. Plus, they have a game tomorrow. So, like, there's plenty of, like as much as I want it to be, like, if this happens and I get 50% of Beal, everybody else is at, like, I don't know, say he comes in at 20% or 25%. It's a much easier path. But playing the way I typically play is I try to take stands on a couple players and just play the guys that I think are good and in good spots. And on paper, this isn't the best spot for Beal. I respect the usage, but I think I'm more into the second ancillary players, I think, as Paulie used to say, the ancillary players. One thing about Washington, One thing about Washington is their second unit is playing well. Ish Smith is playing good. Jordan McRae is that guy I was talking about, one of the value guys that I'll have more of than the rest of the field. Mo Wagner, who's been playing, some minutes at center when Bryant's not on the court. So a lot of these guys are playing well. And if this game does blow out, those are probably the guys that are going to get that blowout run in Washington. So this is where I'll be a little higher on the value. I do like Thomas Bryant. On DraftKings because he's cheap. He's like 5,800. He's playing Denver. Denver's been terrible against centers. But I am obviously a little more geared towards the blowout. I'm gonna have about 20% Beal or so, just because like he's Brad Beal and the usage is good enough. He could definitely do it. But probability
Yeah.
tells me that maybe he won't because of the circumstance. But that second unit, to me, either if they keep this game close, I think A, it's because the second unit played so well and beat Denver's second unit, or B, it's because
They get
right, yeah,
smashed and they get a blowout run.
exactly. So to me, it's one of those situations. So I'll be heavier on the value for the Washington side. You can make the same case for Denver. The only problem is they're in the middle of changing the rotation on the second unit. You've got some guys like it's getting weird. Like Jeremy Grant, you don't really know what his role is on that second unit anymore. Malik Beasley's not getting a ton of minutes anymore. We saw Juancho Hernan-Gomez is squeezing out 9-10 minutes. So it's just kind of hard to really gauge. With that said, take us over to the Denver side, Paulie.
Yeah, so there's like two approaches, I guess, to Denver, right? The game is close, contrarian slate build, and stack them up with the Washington guys, and that would be your Jokic, your Murray, any guard against IT2. You definitely want that. And Millsap is cheap. Gary Harris is going to be very popular value play that would play big minutes and should do fine. Everybody against Washington should do fine. Or you do that blowout build and you play the second unit guys that Mason Plumlee at 3.8, he'll smash if he gets an extra 5 more minutes. Jeremy Grant has actually been playing good minutes no matter what. And Monty Morris is awesome if he can get some time. So if they do cover that 10, then you'll see the second unit get some additional run and, there's still not going to be any defense played and they're going to be paced up. So pick your stand or do both. Play enough teams to cover both game scripts.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. I'd mentioned the same thing with Denver. You can certainly take a few stabs, and really like that's like the idea. Like, you talk about a pace boost. Like Denver's the situation. Like those are the guys I'm more likely to play as far as everything, even the studs. If the second unit was a little easier to predict, I'd be a little more into that too. But in the meantime, I think Millsap is definitely an attractive play at his price, considering the matchup. This is like a pace up matchup for Millsap. Should benefit from rebounds, gets a little extra opportunities and extra possessions while he's on the court. I do like Jokic, but I think I'll have a little more Millsap because if this game does blow out, which I'm a little worried about, Millsap is more likely to give me a 6x. It's easier for him to do it in limited minutes than it would be for Jokic to pay off his massive price tag to do it. So I'll have Jokic because it's a great spot against Washington. I'll have Millsap more because I think he's also a big that could benefit in this matchup, and he's a little cheaper. The expectation isn't as bad. I think Jamal Murray's kind of interesting. Just another guard that gets lost in the shuffle. I'll have 20 to 30% of him. He's going to see Isaiah Thomas for a good chunk of this game, and it doesn't get much better than that as far as matchup goes. Ish Smith, pretty good defender. Isaiah Thomas, not so much. And then, like you said, Gary Harris, man, he's just really cheap. He hasn't done anything. I think he correlates well with Jokic. Him and Harris have a nice 1-2 game, but I'll be a little underweight on Harris because he hasn't done a ton, and I think McRae and some of these other guys have higher usage and it'll be lower owned. But I get it, and to be honest, Harris is going to get a ton of minutes. They're going to use him on Beal. He's one of their better defenders. The minutes are going to be there as they always are. It's just a matter of are you finally going to do something because he just has a tendency to not do nothing. And how could we forget Will Barton, man? He's a baller, and his price isn't that bad.
Baller.
Willie B. I do like Willie B. Denver side, I want these guys. It's just like outside of the starting unit, it's like who? Plumlee's interesting if you like the blowout, and that could be one of them, like because he does a lot in the little. He ain't gonna, but that's a scary one to take there. But yeah, sevens all day, all night.
So on a 2-game slate, like you're gonna need some guys at like 80% exposure. Who are candidates to be that?
For me, it's like more of a stand thing. So like Lou Will, I'm gonna go pretty heavy on. I don't know if I go 80, but I'll go. Lou Will would probably be one of my highest owned players. I'll have a lot of Luka. Again, like if he say Luka's projected to be 70-80%, I'll probably be around 60 or so. Because that still gives me 40% of the field without him, just in case. If he does well, my path to succeeding is not great. If you're underweight on a player who's shock and like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just not good. So if Luka, like, it's weird because you almost root against him when you're underweight. Just because, like, those lineups have a easier, quicker path to success. But at the same time, you're like, wait, but I don't want 60% of my teams to die. You know what I'm saying? It's like you feel conflicted. But at the end of the day, mathematically, it comes down to the even with the math, it still kind of comes down to the stands you take. Whether you trust numbers, whether you trust your own gut, it comes down to the stands you take. And Lou Will is one of the guys I will have a lot of, for sure. What about you?
I think I'm gonna roll IT2 pretty heavy, just at his price, and because I like that game to stay close, and he's like a really, he may be fine even if they do get smoked. I think I will roll Jamal Murray kind of heavy because he gets IT2 defense, and he could kind of get lost in the shuffle at 7,400. And then I think Kawhi.
The fun guy.
Yeah, the fun guy.
I'm with it. I mean, like I said, bro. Like I know, like I know you the contrarian stuff is your suit. Like, we both play tournaments, but I typically play them in basketball. I'm definitely a little more chalky than you, and I take a little bit more of a conservative approach. But again, man, like going that route that you're taking and kind of banking on the second game to stay a little closer rather than the first is going to be, if that works out, you'll have a much clearer path to success. You'll have a lot less obstacles because
and it's like, fuck it. I was going to lose money on this 2-game slate most likely anyway. So might as well, go down swinging and doing something that if I do happen to be right, then I do have a path to success, and then get back to normal playing tomorrow. It sucks to have 2-game slates. It really does. There's not enough players to be different, and it's just not enough. It just sucks.
Yeah.
Give me at least 3 or 4.
I agree. And it was just unnecessary to do it. You've got a bunch of games Monday. You got a bunch of games coming on Wednesday. You just didn't have to do it. But they'll soon learn. When their ratings go, on 2-game slates, why nobody care? We got 2 games televised. Nobody cares because you put out shitty contests on DraftKings because your shitty schedule. That's why. They'll learn.
Mm-hmm.
They'll learn.
They'll learn.
For sure. In the meantime, Nation, if you have questions, we do have the YouTube chat going. That's more for you guys on YouTube. We're going to answer questions from our subscribers over at WiseTake.com on the Wisestream page. If you have questions, go ahead and get them in there. We answer your questions gladly. And then in the meantime, we'll do some top threes. We'll go guards, forwards, centers. Top 3 guards.
Guards. IT2, Jamal Murray, and Brad Beal.
I like it. I'm going to go with Lou Will, number 1, Luka Doncic, number 2, Jordan McRae, number 3. Top 3 forwards.
Forwards, Kawhi, Mo Wags, and Kawhi, Mo Wags, and Davis Bertans.
Bertans is from Kansas. I'm going to go with, I'll go Paul George. I will go, let's go Paul George. Let's go Porzingis. And let's go Will Barton. Top 3, I'm sorry, Paul Millsap. Paul Millsap, I meant to say. Top 3 centers.
Top 3 centers, Jokic, Bryant, and Plumlee.
And I'll go with Harrell, Bryant, Jokic, and it is time. It's time for the questions, if there's any. And there's no questions. How about that? What's a 2-game slate? I mean, I think we were pretty thorough. I think we were pretty thorough. And I did see a YouTube question that I will answer since there's no questions from the nation directly. What do you think of Mo Wagner on DraftKings on DK? I know you'd mentioned you were into him.
I like him. I do. I like. If Washington hangs, he's probably a part of it, and if they get smoked, he gets a ton of blowout runs. So I like him no matter what.
That's it. You got the train backing you up and everything. That's what I'm talking about. So I'll check one more time. Yep, that's gonna do it, Nation. This was fun. It's a 2-game slate, quick show. We will debate on whether we do the Wise stream for free again tomorrow on the bigger slate as like a Thanksgiving gift. We'll debate. Depends on how the nation behaves. So maybe we see some screenshots, we get some likes on this stream, all that kind of good stuff. I put out some free stuff on YouTube. First look cores for Week 13 NFL. You know, of all these videos that we've done. You know, maybe to get some like action, maybe to get a little share action on Twitter and everything else. You know, maybe we'll do a little something. With that said, for Paulie D, for myself, the entire WiseTake Nation, as always, good luck.